Okay, good morning or good evening or good night, everybody, wherever you come from, you are from. Today is the webinar of the WAB. The webinar of the WAB is directly from the Congress in Tlaxcala in Mexico. Because we have the executive committee of the World Association for Buiatrics visited this Congress, but before coming here in Tlaxcala, we went to Cancun. As you know, Cancun is the venue of the next World Buiatric Congress that will be held in May 2024, and we as the executive committee wanted to meet the organizing committee to see whether there could have been some criticism or not. We can say that we are very happy and very satisfied on the organization. Everything is going fast and well. The location Cancun is a very well known. Therefore, we expect also many participants to the Congress of next year. So I don't want to waste the time because we have some speaker today, and as you know, this kind of webinar is organized just to facilitate the association. Is just to present the local association, and this time today is the time of the Mexican Buiatric Association that will introduce its history, will show us the context of the Buiatric works in Mexico. Then we will have a presentation on one topic that is on parasitic disease in Mexico context, and at the end we will have the presentation of the World Buiatric Congress, especially related to the scientific part. The speakers of today are the first Professor Eduardo Posadas Manzano, that is professor at the University of Mexico, UNAM, University Nacional Autónoma de México, in Mexico City. Is professor in animal production, especially tropical production. Then we will have Professor Elke Von Son de Permex, that is professor for parasitology at the same university, the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University Nacional Autónoma de México in Mexico City. And finally, we will have Professor Luis Zarco Quintero, that is professor of reproduction at the UNAM, but he is also the president of the scientific committee. Therefore, as first, I would like Eduardo to start his presentation. Eduardo is also the president of the organizing committee of the next Buiatric Congress. Therefore, please, Eduardo, thank you for giving your time to us, to the World Association for Buiatrics, and thank you especially with all your team for organizing the next Buiatric Congress in Cancun. Thank you to everybody, to the participants. I see that participants are from really different parts of the world. Perhaps we are not so many, but we are very spread from really different continents, and this is perhaps the most important thing. I know that participating to the webinar nowadays, there are every day, every hours, every minute, plenty of webinar. But for us, this is the best way to keep in touch with our service and to know each other within the network of the Buiatrics, of the Buiatric Association. Eduardo, please take the microphone. Thank you very much. And I ask everybody to switch off to the microphones that we don't have disturbances during the presentation. Please, Eduardo.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arcangelo, for your visit with Dr. David, Dr. Peter, Dr. Emily, for your visit to Mexico City and to visit to Cancun and today in Tlaxcala. The story for the Mexican Buiatric Association. The Mexican Buiatric Association was founded July 9, 1976 in Mexico City. Since its creation, the National Buiatric Congress has been held annually in a different states in Mexican Republic with the objective of presenting to the divine practitioner in Mexico to updates of our profession. The association, the principal funders is Dr. Jorge Ávila García, Dr. Gonzalo de la Fuente, Dr. Salvador Ávila Telles, Dr. Luis Martínez Zaragoza, Dr. Luis Felipe Pérez Fernández, doctores, it's brothers Rafael y Federico Carvajal Aguilera. The mission of the Buiatrics Association bring together professionals, researchers, and pruders of the development in different areas of the cat, sheep, and goats through the diffusion of current research and techniques for the continuous improvement in the production of milk and meat in ruminants. The vision of the association is providing leadership in the diffusion of knowledge, research, and update technologies in ruminants for our members in the country and abroad. The objectives, the association is now to study and solve problems related to the production and management of bovine production, progress and research, improve Mexican Buiatrics and promote scientific research. And the objective is the link up to create agreement for the mutual support with the productive sector and the other private institutions. And training is educative programs for the Mexican Buiatrics, promoting their continuous updating. The association activities for the course clinic, reproduction, genetics, and sanitary programs. And in the National Buiatric Congress, training in updating event for veterinarians from all the country. The production for milk and meat and production and milk is in the next video.
After 46 years to having hosted the 10th World Buiatrics Congress, in 2024, Mexico will have the honor to open its doors to the 32nd edition of such a prestigious event. Mexico is a country with a livestock vocation, with a cattle inventory of 35,998,885 heads, enriched by 5 livestock ecological zones: temperate, arid, semi-arid, humid tropic, and dry tropic. Mexico currently occupies the 15th place in milk production worldwide, with more than 30 million liters per year. In beef production, it occupies the 8th place worldwide, and also ranks 9th in the top 10 in beef exports. The Mexican Association of Veterinary Doctors Specialists in Cattle, AMVET, and the World Association of Buiatrics, WAB, are pleased to welcome you from May 20 to 24 of 2024 to celebrate the 32nd World Congress of Buiatrics in Cancun, Quintana Roo, Mexico. See you soon in Cancun. After 4.
Thank you. See you in Cancun.
Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Eduardo. I really hope that there will be many of us. So as we already mentioned it, the Mexican Buiatric Association was founded, is one of the most important in the World Buiatric Association, because it is member since 1976, and the Mexican Association organized one of the first Buiatric Congress in 1976 in Mexico City. Therefore, this will be the second time after almost 45 years we will be again in Mexico. Mexico has, as you mentioned, there's also the video showed, has a very quite different type of reading system, and a very high number of cattle, because the number that you show is really outstanding. So now I would go to the, let's say, to the scientific part of this webinar, and that is, as I already mentioned, on parasitology, so control of pulmonary and gastrointestinal parasite in the Mexican tropícs. The speaker is Professor Elke Von Son, the PERMEX, and in this way we will have a glance into one of the most important health problem for the health of cattle in this part of the world. Therefore, thank you, Professor Elke. I invite you to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arcangelo Gentile, and the board members and committee of the presentation. Of course, it's a quick glance, very quick glance of this parasite management. First of all, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the webinar. I was quite challenged. I had to talk into 15 minutes, so we'll do our best. And the thing is, for the first question would be, why is it important about advances in snowflakes? Cattle. And I would say it is because of consumer preference. Why? Well, there is no secret that for the last couple of years, livestock industry has been affected by negative publicity, mainly in terms of environmental footprint, animal welfare. However, livestock plays an important role in the development of different aspects of society. And statistics provided early this year by the European Commission of Agriculture and the NISS of the USDA show that far from being a sector that might here, it's just shifting, right? So livestock nowadays is shifting to an organic farming. It shows an annual growth rate of 11% in the last for this year. That's what it's estimated, and we can observe that organic dairy products are increasing if the consumer preference. So these concerns of consumer awareness and animal health, welfare, and the environmental issues has put pressure on livestock. That is a fact, and that justifies the growing demand for animal and environmentally friendly. So with these consumer preferences of system, outdoor systems, organic systems, graphic systems, comes with risks for both farmers and cattle. And among all the risks involved on this kind of systems, we find parasites. And one of the other problems is that probably the consumer preference is not only regarding the system, but also opposite to the use of chemicals. So right now, most of these systems are facing the challenge of entering the parasite defenseless. And this is why it is so important to know about the approaches for helmet control in graphic systems. It is known that parasites do affect health, welfare, and performance of cattle. It has been proven that parasite infection affects voluntary intake, daily weight gain, milk, and carcass yield up to 30%, 50%, milk drop over 2 kilograms of milk per cow per day. So that with the treatment cost and management cost will of course affect the farm's economy. It has been estimated in Mexico, as Sari here, estimated that the cost of animal caused by gastrointestinal nematodes is up to $445 billion. So this gives us a glance of the importance of controlling parasites. On the other hand, dictocaulosis, which is long, it also affects the farm economy. Several reports have presented data about drops on milk production up to 50%, 20 to 33% of mortality, morbidity pretty high, up to 100%, and of course, different costs regarding diagnostics, treatment, re-insemination, adult fertility for increase of mastitis incidence due to the coughing. So the total cost of dictocaulosis has been estimated around 160, 170 cow. So this gives just a glance of how it is not only to the welfare and health, but also to the economy. However, to control parasites, first we have to get it done. So really quick, helminths are the most popular parasites in graphic cattle all over the world. It's not just only in Mexico, and it can be classified in two major groups: nematodes, which are roundworms, and flatworms, flatworms. We're going to talk about roundworms because they are the most popular ones. There are known over 20 different species of worms affecting different organ systems in cattle. However, here are presented some of the most popular of them, which are observed on mixed infections. And the last one, which is not affecting the GIT, thus the respiratory system, is dictocaulosis viviparous. The degree of parasite infections, it will depend always on different several factors involving host, environment, and management. However, knowing a little bit about life cycle and biology be the key to develop efficient strategies for their. I think epidemiology is the cornerstone of this strategy. One other thing is that epidemiology, as we used to know, is no longer present. It's changing. Those factors that usually change epidemiology are currently changing all the time, which is climate change, farm management, and nowadays anthelmintic. However, prevalence of gastrointestinal nematodes and lungworms are really high, as you can see in the latest, up to an 88% prevalence in dairy or cattle units. So knowing a little bit of the life cycle and biology will help us to develop a proper for parasites. And really quick, it's important to say that gym, for example, have a direct life cycle divided in two stages, the pre-parasitic stage and a parasitic stage. One of them is on the pastures, which has the 80% of the population of parasites from a farm. And the other 20% is inside the host, which is the parasitic stage. It is important to emphasize this 80% of the parasite population living on the pasture because controllers are focused on the host, right, to treat that 20%, and the 80% of the rest of the population has the gene cycle is pretty simple, not so the dictocalus. However, it's also a direct cycle. It also has the majority of population living on the pastures until it's ingested by the host. Usually, the larva dictocalus will penetrate intestine, migrates to mesenteric lymph nodes, fall to a fourth stage, and then migrates via lymphatic and vascular systems, where they mature to adult parasites and complete their cycle. Eggs are cuffed and swallowed. Larvae are hatched in the intestinal tract and then shedded to the environment. So this is actually very important to know because of the control strategies we can use to control parasites in grass and cattle. Of course, chemical control should be able to help control the parasitism using macrocyclic lactones, AADs, imidazoles, benzimidazoles, propenzimidazoles, or the ethylpropamycin should actually help. However, the alarming emergence of anthelmintic resistance is changing our scenario, especially in tropical regions, however, not limited to them. Multiple reports have stated that parasites, both gene and lungworms, are resistant or even resistant to different. So far, it has been reported an anthelmintic resistance to macrocyclic lactose, benzimidazole, and AAD. So where dictocaulosis is the same scenario, reports of resistance to ivermectin, avamectin, and sulfendazole have been done, and that ties our hands regarding on both parasites with grass cattle. So the question would be, is it possible to achieve efficient control with anthelmintics while maintaining animal health and well-being? And I think the answer is no. Those novel approaches for the control of parasite in livestock are actually necessary, both preventive and curative. The alternative approaches have been classified long ago now, I think since 2006. Jackson and Miller make the first classification for alternative approaches. And they were divided in two sections. Superpopulations, which are the ones that are in the pastures, that 80% of parasites from our farming system, and the infrapopulation. For superpopulation, use some management biological agents. Infrapopulations could be controlled chemical products, as on the previous slides, immunological, and the use of bioactive plants. Although we don't have much time to talk about details on any of them, we're going to see just like Dr. Gentile said, a quick view of what's going on right now. The first of all, regarding management, and I think it's very important to know that there are predisposing factors to parasitic. And these factors are closely related to stress, the sex, protocol, or physiological status, body or breathe environment. All of them are associated to stress, and stress is associated to immunosuppression. So this is one of the important things we have to consider when thinking of parasite control. The other one would be regarding management, the parasitic management, right? We talked about 80% of the parasite population being on the pastures. So I think pasture management be a cornerstone for parasites. How can we do this? Epidemiological population. And there are some strategies that we can use to control or modulate parasite infection in the pastures. The first of them is the dilution of infection. Dilution of infection can be achieved with systems like silvopastoral systems, which combine or integrate grasses and arboreal crops components for animal feeding. And when feeding from the shrubs or the arboreal components, of course, the amount of larvae ingested decreases, and so the infection within the animal. The second would be the mortality, and the mortality is based on the leverage of natural mortality of parasites. Although infected larvae have specific features to withstand environmental conditions, usually after 4 weeks of exposure, mainly wet, dry weather, 4 weeks after exposure, mortality would reach a peak. So we could take advantage of that, mainly due to using rotational grazing and giving some rest to the paddocks in order to allow a natural mortality of larvae. And the third one would be the wipeout effect. And the wipeout approach is grazing with species or alternate grazing. And that the principle of this management would be breaking parasite life cycle using species that do not share parasite infections. For example, combining cows and sheep, cows and goats, cows and horses, or even cows and cows, for example. And that would be not regarding the parasite species infection, but the competence of the animals. So it could help us to maintain our paddocks with a low infectivity, thus the animals have lower burden that could impact negative. Another of the principal parasites in the pasture could be biological. And this is an ecological man-made method to decrease parasite populations to an acceptable clinical level through the use of live natural antagonists.
Excuse me, Dr.
And there's
Excuse me, your microphone might have a little problem. Sometimes we hear you very good and sometimes very bad, going up and down.
Let me check. Thank you very much. Do you hear me there?
Yeah. Now you're totally off. Still totally off. We can't hear you. Yeah, we can't hear you. We do not hear you at the moment.
You don't hear anything?
Yes, now you are back.
Okay.
Now you're back.
Thank you very much, and I'm very sorry for that. As I was saying, biological control is the man-made method that uses live natural antagonists to control parasites in the pasture. There are several organisms that have been proven to lower parasite infection in paddocks. There are nematodes, bacteria, arthropods, and fungus. All of them, I would be gladly to profundize on them. However, we don't have much time. But in vitro and in vivo studies.
Maybe you could take off your headset and do it without the headset. Maybe it's caused to the headset.
All right. Do you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay, let's try to do it like this. Sorry. So these organisms have proven through in vivo and in vitro studies that could lower the infectivity of the paddocks up to a 60 or 70%, which is actually really good for an biological control. The only thing with the use of biological control that is really important is to consider that a biological control agent must be harmless to the environment, do not alter the natural balance of the ecosystem. So when choosing one of them, we have to be really precise on which kind of animal, of organism are we including into our ecosystem in the farm. The other alternative that has been widely studied, mainly through the last decade, I would say, are the use of plants. And the use of plants actually is nothing novel. Ethno-veterinary medicine is an ancient practice, mostly from rural communities, that has gained much attention in the last years because of the alarming emergence of anthelmintic resistance. So there are several plants with a really good potential with anthelmintic-like activity. However, tropical and temperate legumes have been the focus of most research because of the high amount and the wide variety of secondary plant metabolites, which are the ones that have the direct or indirect anthelmintic effect against parasites. The use of plants and its versatility allow us to use plants either as nutraceutical, which is a food or a part of a food that, in addition to its nutritional properties, also provides medicinal benefits, right? So we could use plants as nutraceutical through voluntary intake or drenching animals using extracts and essential oils. There have been several studies in vitro and in vivo reporting the activity of all these secondary plant metabolites, which have a direct effect against parasites, either preventive and also curatives. Most of the molecules that has been analyzed for this bioactivity are condensed tannin, polyphenolic compounds, and schizophrenic lactones, which have proven to have in vivo activity, lowering worm burdens up to 30 to 50% in cattle, and inhibiting parasite establishment up to an 80%, which is also very interesting data to consider when trying to set a control program for parasite control. So I think this is like a very general view of the different alternatives we have to control both gastrointestinal nematodes and lungworms. And it's important to know about it because there's a great challenge upcoming, and it's to produce high quality food in an ethical, environmental friendly, and economically viable manner. And we will be needing these kind of tools to introduce into our farming systems to achieve on an integrated manner low worm burdens, both inside and outside the host. So I think thus the studies aimed to a more sustainable control of parasites should be increasingly encouraged. Thank you very much. And I'm so sorry for the problems with the microphone.
Thank you, Professor Elke. No, yes, now I'm doing my video. Thank you for the challenging, interesting, but I would say also challenging presentation. You anticipated, you emphasize so many problems from the chemical control, and therefore also the impact on the environment. But the last issues that you present, so this the new approach for the control of parasites is so is so important. And I hope that the scientific committee of the next Congress in Cancun will consider these issues, these topics as one of the most important key topics for the Congress. Perhaps we have some minutes for a short discussion. I don't know whether somebody would like to ask something. Otherwise, I would have a very short question that is related to the low quality drugs, because I have experience in Africa where the parasites are a huge problem, and also where the treatment of the parasite is not so, let's say, sophisticated and controlled or evidence-based as it might be in some other countries. And there is a huge problem with low quality drugs, perhaps not, I would say also sometimes falsified, but for sure low quality. I don't know whether you have some kind of experience or you can add something to this concern.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gentile. Indeed, I think it's a very important topic. Usually it wasn't considered as much. Right now, this shiftings in production systems all over the world, I think compels novel approaches to be exposed to most of the people, because they are not known for everyone, right? It's a very closed group of parasitologists that are actually with the information. It should be spread worldwide right now. I think indeed in some countries like Africa, where the treatments are scarce, because I think the disponibility or availability of chemicals in many countries, underdeveloped countries, are is a huge problem. And I think in those countries, there's a lot of research. There are a lot of researchers in Africa, India, a lot of countries that are studying actually the use of plants or this ethno-veterinary medicine to treat cattle against parasites, because of course parasites are responsible of multiple economical losses in the cattle industry. So there's a lot of information. I would love to give more information about it, but as I said before, it would take us around 2 hours to talk about gin and lungworms and all the alternatives. But it's very interesting. And of course, if someone needs or wants a little bit of information, I'll be gladly to share it. And thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, so our webinar are just are not, let's say, scientific in the full sense of the word. It is just to increase the possibility of networking, researcher of networking association. But it is something that we launch, something that we put on the table for as a challenge for the future, for future discussions and so on. And therefore, thank you very much, and especially when you mentioned at the beginning that livestock operates for below the optimum production potential. So it is everywhere in many parts of the world. It's important that we try to improve the not only the production, but how to say the yes. So the result of the production. Okay, so thank you. Now I would like to move, if there are not particular questions. I usually during our webinar we don't have long discussion, because we would like to keep our time quite confined in around one hour. So now I am happy to give the floor to Professor Zarco, that is the president of the scientific committee of the World Buiatric Congress. And that's it. So, Professor, please if you switch on the microphone, then you have the floor.
Okay, good morning or afternoon or whatever, because people are in many places of the world right now. I want to talk a little bit about the organization of the scientific program of the Congress. I will share the screen. Okay. When it's already there. Okay. Okay, it's a short presentation. They told me I will have about 10 minutes. So it's just a summary of some of the important things I want to share. Well, the Congress will take place in Cancun Center, is the name of the place where it's the Congress. Cancun is the main touristic destination in Mexico, but it's also a place where most of the very large congresses in Mexico take place. So there's a lot of experience in this place for the Congress. The site has a lot of place for conferences, also for exhibitions, and it will be a very good place to have the Congress because it has all the facilities for simultaneous translation and all that. About the program, we are still organizing, finalizing the specifics of the program, but we will have 5 simultaneous conference rooms. In all of them, we will have simultaneous translation from English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. We will have 37 keynote conferences covering the different areas in which the scientific program is divided. There will also be 15 symposia with 30 invited speakers in those symposia. Those are usually several hours in the morning or in the afternoon about specific topics. We will have also space for 150 oral presentations, pre-presentations from people who submit their papers, and at least we expect to have 600 posters. There is space for more, but we are putting here the minimum that we would like to have. The scientific areas in which you can make a submission or we are going to have also keynote speakers are infectious diseases. Then as a separate part, we will have parasitic diseases. We will have a section on pharmacology and toxicology, another one on genetics, both population genetics and molecular genetics. We will have a section in heart health and production medicine of ruminants. And then we will have nutrition, reproduction. Also, we'll have a section for sheep and goats. They are not the same, but depending on the final number of oral presentations that we have in each of them, we will divide the time. Also buffalo and camelids, which are also not the same thing, of course, but we expect to have contributions from buffalo because in this continent, in Brazil, in South America, there is a lot of growth of this area, and also from people from other continents. Camelids, we expect to have mostly South American camelids, but one never know. Once you allow for camelids, you cannot discriminate for them. Then there will be another section on public health and food quality and traceability. We will have, of course, it's every time more important, animal behavior and welfare. Then we will have another section on socioeconomic aspects of ruminant production. From the economic point of view and the part of rural development, but also as a separate section, sustainability and environmental impact of production. Then there will be also a section called short communications, where we will put any other interesting thing that is submitted that doesn't fit in any of these main areas. And also a section on education in ruminant veterinary medicine and production. Several of the people involved in the organization of the Congress have had a large experience in organizations, national and international organizations related to improving the quality of education. So we will have that section too. The call for abstracts has already been launched. This is just the part of the page. And it's the Congress will be from 20 to 24 of May of the next year. And of course, the abstracts that are submitted will be either for oral or poster presentation. There are just in this moment, I just want to tell you the page where you can enter into the Congress is this WBC Mexico just wait. WBCmexico2024.com is the page, a specific page of the Congress. And once you enter there, if you want to submit an abstract, you can just go to this section. You will find this entering page. The problem is that I have something obscuring me what I wanted to show you, but you can see it. It's a place in the upper part where it says abstracts. Yeah. So once you enter into that place, you get into this page when you can download the call for abstracts, where there are all the different all the instructions, detailed instructions about everything that has to do with how to send your abstract, the format of your abstract, etc. And then there is the other button that says register abstract, because the first thing one has to do is to register himself or herself, name, last name, etc. And once done that, you can enter into this area where you will submit the abstract. The platform will guide you to, for example, here you can see the title. You can put up to 200 characters. Then you have to select your subject. It will be the responsibility of the author to select the subject because, for example, an abstract in nutrition of goats, you can either send it to nutrition or to goats, for example. Well, then you have at the right of the screen, the section where you will add other authors and then tell which one is the presenting author, which one is the submitting author, etc. And the abstracts will have objectives, material and methods, results, and conclusions. And in each of these sections, they will tell you also the number of characters that you can have. For example, here into objectives, that's the number of words, etc. And it will guide you. It's quite friendly, the page to send abstracts. What are some of the important dates? Well, the platform is already open for abstract submission. And once you are entering your abstract, you can either save it and then it will not be sent. You can save it in case you want to improve it later or add some data that you are still waiting for. But November 26th is the final date where you have to send the submission. Of course, you can send it before. You can either select save it or send it. Once you send the abstract, it's the final form. You cannot modify it later. And the notification about the acceptance of the abstracts and if it's for oral or poster presentation will be January 20th of next year. Also important, once you are told that you are accepted, there will be a last day. It's almost 2 months to pay the registration fee. Of course, only abstracts that have been accepted and who one person has registered to present the abstract will be included in the final program. So that's a summary. I hope that's been correct. If somebody has any question. No? That's all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor, for having presented us some aspect, some technical aspect of the Congress. In the meantime, here there is a break. There was some. No, you can keep the music so that everybody can feel can join the feeling of the Congress in Tlaxcala. They have just switched off the music. This is the feeling of the Congress. I suppose this will be also the feeling that we will experience in Cancun. Yesterday there was a very nice dance. Today the Congress is working. Now they have the break. I will say thank you to everybody. I'm happy that just a comment on the scientific program. I am happy that you, Professor Quintero, that you also put on the table the new world camelids. The new world camelids are not only an issue only for South America. It's also an issue, an important topics in Europe. The number of new world camelids is increasing in Europe. They are very expensive. They are used also for pet or for production, and therefore I'm sure that this will be something attractive also for many researchers and many clinicians from Europe. Therefore, thank you for considering this, for considering the small ruminants. Small ruminants are also included in our topics. Traditionally, also it is not, let's say, the core business. Buffalo, for us from Italy, buffalo is a big problem for a big issue for most of the cheese. Therefore, personally, we are very happy to have this topic among the scientific program. All the other we have listed. Yeah, the deadline are already in the web page. What can I say? Better, I think that we are just in time with our 1 hour webinar. I thank all of you. I thank really again Dr. Elke Von Son de Permex. I hope she will have a big role in the next Congress. It is a very important topic. Therefore, I hope to see you very active during the Congress. I would like to greet all the friends that participated to this webinar. I just anticipate. I see many of them are from South America. Ricardo Eduardo from Brazil. Professor Francisco Lanuza is the president of the South Latin American Buiatric Association. I see from China, from Japan. I see my friend Martina Lassia from Argentina, so from Greece. So I cannot cite less than 1 month, because we will do the same so like we did here from the Congress, and we will take advantage of the European Buiatric Congress that will be held in Berlin, and therefore the next webinar will be held directly from Berlin, from Germany. I will send you next week the invitation with the details of the program. Better if we don't have anything else, if you allow me, we can close the webinar. What do you think? My secretary, that is my right hand.
Only,
Better, because I am here directly at the Congress, but the other speaker, in order to not to have this noise, we shift there in another room, more silent. Better, please.
yeah, greetings from our cage, no problem. Just one information
Yes.
to everybody who wasn't able to participate in this webinar. We, as always, recorded it and it will be soon on YouTube.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And if you know some, as I always do when I write to you, if you know that there are somebody that might be interested in our webinar, please send us the email address that we had in our mailing list. So thank you. Many greetings. Now I go to the music to enjoy the break. So we are. We need. Oh, okay. So that is. We don't want to advertise for the company, but that is quite funny. Okay, thank you. So thank you, everybody. See you soon. See you next time. Ciao.
See you in Cancun.
We
Bye bye.